In this video, I will show you how you can turn a breakdown into a breakthrough. Actually, I will show you why a breakdown is very often a clear sign that you are about to break through. I will also show you why that breakdown often happens just before you level up, before you take on a new position or a new role, before you gain more visibility, or simply before you get what you want. And in the end of the video, I will give you a few tips on how you can have that breakthrough successfully and yet gently. So I don't want to dive too deep into the subconscious mind, but I do have to scratch on that a little bit in order to understand why the stress of a breakdown, the kind of breakdown that we're talking about here, is actually happening. So you probably already know that we are conditioned and programmed in our childhood to have certain beliefs about ourselves, certain beliefs about the world, our family, about health, how money works, how pretty much everything works. So when we grow up, from when we were born, we say about the first 7 to 9 years of our lives, we are getting installed what I like to call our operating system. And that operating system for the rest of our lives then decides who we are, what we can, what we cannot do, what we're good at, what we're not, believe we're not good enough at, how we see the world, how we can function, how worthy we are. And you can probably already tell that most of these stories aren't actually really true. Because if we would have been brought up in a different family, in a different culture, in a different environment, we would have a complete different set of beliefs and patterns. However, we are all growing up with a certain operating system. And first of all, most of that is good because you're sitting here listening to this either on your smartphone or your computer. So you're sitting, you're not, you don't stop breathing, you have something to eat, you probably have a roof over your head. So you're doing well. Most of these things, most of our patterns and beliefs have served us well. However, they have also taught us that we probably shouldn't engage in certain behaviors because otherwise we get scolded or we get ridiculed, laughed at, maybe even hit by our parents. We all have those stories in our heads that those, I like to call them the monkey on our shoulder, that tells us, who do you think you are? Children shouldn't be seen. Children should be seen but not heard. Don't try to outshine anyone. What now, you want to be a singer? But these are a lot of things that I have heard in my childhood anyway. And so when we grow up, very often we still operate out of the operating system of a 5-year-old that is trying to keep us safe. So I behave better because otherwise mommy won't love me. I behave better or otherwise I will get a smack in the face, or I will get a spanking, or I will get, this is in my generation that unfortunately still a lot of us have still experienced that. Luckily, that's a bit different today with the children, but still we're growing up with certain beliefs about ourselves, even if there isn't any physical harm that's been done. So we have that idea of what we are and who we are and what we deserve and what we can do, because that's what we've been told. And when we move out, or we try to move out of that belief set, whatever that might be for you, then that means grave danger for our entire system. I don't want to dive too much into this, but I will link in the comments, I will put a link to a free masterclass that I taught 2 years ago, where I go deep into this whole topic. It's 90 minutes, it's free, so really dive in there, because it will explain the whole operating system and how you can change that. So now, if I believe that me being successful actually means that my friends won't like me anymore, it will mean that I'm a liar, it will mean that my family won't see me as one of theirs anymore because none of them have ever been successful before. But, these are just some random beliefs that might pop up. Now, if I move into a more successful position or into something a little bit outside of the box, our system will do its job number one, and that is trying to keep us safe. the operating system will not look for what is good for you. Your operating system will look for what fits your operating system. I hope this makes sense. I say this one more time. Your operating system will not filter out and look for what's good for you, for your growth, for your expansion, for your true desires. It will look for and filter out what actually fits on your already existing operating system. And when we move out of that, it either doesn't even see it as a possibility, or it will go into the biggest alarm to pull you back. Danger, danger, it's not safe. And you will go into a pure fight or flight mode. And here we have the light, sun is coming out. That's awesome. So now we live in a world of contrast. And if you're listening to this, if you're listening to this channel, you probably already have some successes in your life. And truthfully, we all have. We usually just don't see them as successes, because that's, again, what we have been trained to believe about ourselves. But you probably are doing well already. And now we live in a world of contrast. What I mean by that is black, white, dark, light, loud, quiet, cheap, expensive, good, bad. None of these have any judgment on it. We just need that contrast in order to navigate towards or away from something. That's just how we work. And so if we are in a situation that works already, usually contrast hits at some point and shows us, oh, this is good, hopefully, but that would also be even better. So we see, oh, now I would actually maybe like a partner, or play for a better team, or have a better position. I would like to have more visibility, or I would like to have less visibility. So we have different desires that we would like to expand into. Now, having those desires are like setting an intention. And when we set an intention, usually two things happen. Either it's like the GPS that now drives us towards that, and the street is clear, and according to the law of attraction, we just get where we want to. Unfortunately, that only happens if all of your inner game, your operating system, is already aligned with where you want to go. If it isn't, the second thing happens, and the door opens, and you are now being shown the stuff that is still holding you back in order to get where you want to go. If you start driving and you have a flat tire, you better get out of the car and change the tire so you can then have a gentle journey. If you run out of gas, you have to find the next petrol station to fill up your tank, and then keep driving. And that's all that is. So you have a new desire, the contrast hit, you have a new desire, you reach for it, and then you're just being shown, oh, there's a hurdle. There's actually a traffic jam you need to drive around. You want to be a speaker? Well, you have a fear of stepping into the limelight, or you're actually not at peace with being successful or with being seen. And that will then show up, or you will be given opportunities where you can actually practice what you want. But keep in mind, that is outside of your operating system. And again, if you have been taught that, for instance, money is evil, and being, don't be too successful because people will never love you for who you are, or, all these funny things that we have in our heads, we will start sabotaging. And the big question is now, why are we sabotaging that? And the sabotage very often shows up as a breakdown. Now, there's a story that happened to me many years ago, but it describes this so clearly. So please, let me please. I don't even know what that is in English anymore. My English is going today. Let me tell you this story. When I used to be an actor, I used to be a dancer and a singer and an actor, and then I started coaching about 15 years ago now, and then I started doing tiny workshops. I started off in my living room for 4 friends. Then I had about 16 people in a room, and that was about the size that I was comfortable with. And then I was invited to be a member of the ATL Europe, the Association of Transformational Leaders, which already was like, oh my God, what I'm doing here. Because I knew my work was good, but I didn't actually feel I belonged there. And then at the second meeting, I was asked to speak. Not only that, but to speak in the last slot. And then the night before, I was supposed to speak for all these incredible, well-rounded, perfect people in my mind. I flipped. I was sitting in my hotel room back in Oslo, it was, and I thought I was literally thinking about leaving the hotel, unfriending everybody on Facebook, and just get a new flight and just leave and never see them again, because I just thought, who am I? Who do I think I am to speak in front of these well-accomplished people? And then it hit me that I was about to enter into a position that I have been dreaming about for years and years and years. I wanted to speak on a bigger platform. I wanted to reach more people. I wanted to be part of those people. And then the universe delivered. And then I was in deep shit, pardon my French, but I felt like, I wish I would have thought this through. So I was so paralyzed, I didn't even know what to do. And then at some point I realized, okay, this is what you want. And this breakdown, this meltdown you are having, either you go back and you stay where you are, but then don't you dare dream of more desires, or you just go through with it, because apparently this is the answer to your prayers. And so it became very comedic the next day, because the colleague that was doing the talk before me was basically teaching everything that I had prepared. So, you know, I had to go into complete trust, and then it turned out to be a very, very good session. But what I learned back then is that massive meltdown, that massive breakdown was the deciding point for me. Do I go back or do I break through? And it was a clear breakthrough. And ever since then, I've noticed breaking through is usually the better option anyway, but the breakdown is usually just a sign that we are breaking through. And I prepared this little thing here, as this is part of my course, the 6-Week Masters, because most people always think that personal growth happens like in a spiral, or it happens smoothly and continuously grows up. And it doesn't happen like this. Growth happens in, I like to call it, in layers or on platforms. And if you see this, you know, you get comfortable on a different platform, you settle, you expand, you assume that new identity, and then new contrast hits, and then you get into the next platform, and then you jump onto the next identity, into the next expansion and the next expansion. And I call it next level, old devil, or same devil. You probably know the saying, new level, new devil. But to me, it's actually very often our oldest fears that are popping up again. But they're not the same fear. They're just a facet drilling deeper, because we are aiming for something new. I hope you can still follow me. So if I'm heading for that new platform, if I'm heading for that new level, everything goes into danger, because the oldest beliefs, some of them you most likely have worked through already, maybe 100 times, because God knows I've done that. But they're showing up again, because you are reaching for an even bigger level, even if it's not that big. But from that point of where you're going, it's a bigger level. So it's trusting that your prayers are being answered, that your subconscious mind, your operating system, is trying to keep you safe, but from an old mindset. It's trying to keep the 5-year-old safe, but you know much better now. And then just stepping into it. So how do you deal with when that breakdown happens again? It always helps to have a good coach on your side, you know, that you can just call up quickly, maybe that you know, gets you back on track. But if that doesn't happen, I put down a few steps for you. The first one is just knowing that this is just showing up because you're getting to the next level helps massively. Because if you have experienced this 1, 2, or 3 times, the more you do this, the more you actually up level, the more you realize, oh, this is what's happening. This is, I like to say, oh, hello, old friend, there you are again. Hello, old monkey. And then, you know, you just step into it, you sit it out. So knowing what I just taught you will help you massively if you embrace it. Then use a breathing technique to calm down your nervous system. There's loads of breathing techniques out there. I will put another link. This is a very old video of mine. I think it's from 2015. So please, this is filmed on a, I don't think it was even a smartphone back then. But it's a breathing technique that will get you out of the sympathetic nervous system back to your parasympathetic nervous system, meaning it snaps you out of the fight or flight mode so you can think straight again. This is important. So noticing, I'm in stress. I'm about to have a breakdown, a meltdown. Why is this triggering me so much? Oh, it's the old fear of, let's say, being seen again. Okay, then use whatever exercise you have. As I said, I've put the link in the comments, to breathe yourself down. Maybe you can meditate, maybe you can go for a walk. Then, now that your head is clear, prepare well. Yes, the fear might be there. Maybe you want to even put a monkey on your table and tell him, there you are, old friend. Thank you for trying to keep me safe, but I know it's actually not true, and I need to assume that new position. Prepare well, and then let it go. And unfortunately, we then just have to do it. But once we start doing it, in my experience and the experience of my clients, the big stress is already gone. The usual breakdown happens before. And the moment we remind ourselves, it's just triggering my old fears, my old operating system, it already starts calming down. So it's actually not when we're hitting, it might flare up again, you know, briefly when we start with a new position, but usually that breakdown happens before. And the most important thing about this is the more you implore this, the better it gets. The intervals between the breakdowns and the meltdowns are getting bigger, and the actual stress phases are getting much shorter. Take it from me, I've been there many, many hundreds of times, and I've experienced the change and how fun it can be to expand and actually go for the fear, go what scares you, because that's where your growth is. So this is what I want you to do. Put a little reminder maybe on your wall to, is this real or is it just trying to keep me safe? Look for the breathing exercise. Also look for the masterclass that I put in the links if you want to understand this a bit more. There's a few more exercises, actually the breathing exercises in there as well. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will reply to them either in the comments or with a new video.